Hello everybody, welcome to my channel.
Lauren Bacall, 1924 to 2014. Lauren Bacall was an American actress and model whose career and persona defined the golden age of Hollywood. Known for her husky voice, penetrating gaze, and effortless sophistication, she became one of cinema's most enduring icons. Early life: born Betty Joan Perske on September 16, 1924, in New York City. Bacall was raised by her mother after her parents divorced. Growing up in Manhattan, she became interested in theater early on and studied at the American Academy of Dramatic Arts while working as a theater usher and model to support herself. Her life changed at 19 when she appeared on the cover of Harper's Bazaar. The photo caught the attention of legendary director Howard Hawks, who invited her to screen test for a film role, and Hollywood quickly took notice. Breakthrough with To Have and Have Not, 1944, Bacall's film debut came opposite Humphrey Bogart in To Have and Have Not. Her performance introduced what became known as the look, a combination of lowered eyelids and steady, smoldering gaze, partly developed as a technique to hide her nervousness. The film not only launched her career but also sparked a deep personal connection with Bogart. Their chemistry on screen, and off, became legendary. Marriage to Humphrey Bogart. Bogart and Bacall married in 1945. Despite a 25-year age difference, they had one of Hollywood's most celebrated partnerships. Together they starred in several classic films: The Big Sleep, 1946, Dark Passage, 1947, Key Largo, 1948. Their marriage lasted until Bogart's death in 1957. Bacall later described Bogart as the love of her life. Career beyond the Bogart era. After Bogart's passing, Bacall worked steadily in film, theater, and television. She starred in Young Man with a Horn, 1950, How to Marry a Millionaire, 1953, alongside Marilyn Monroe and Betty Grable. Written on the Wind, 1956, transitioning to stage work. Bacall achieved tremendous success on Broadway, winning 2 Tony Awards for Applause, 1970, Woman of the Year, 1981. She continued acting well into her later years and received an Academy Award nomination for her role in The Mirror Has Two Faces, 1996. Personality and legacy. Lauren Bacall was known for her independence, sharp wit, and outspoken personality. Her style, cool, confident, and commanding, became a blueprint for the modern Hollywood woman. In 2009, she received an honorary Academy Award recognizing her career and contribution to film. Lauren Bacall passed away on August 12, 2014, at age 89. Why she remains iconic. Redefined on-screen femininity with strength and intelligence. One half of one of Hollywood's most legendary partnerships. A career spanning 7 decades in film, stage, and television. Lauren Bacall wasn't just a star, she was a presence. Her voice, her gaze, and her aura remain timeless. Personal life. Beyond the Bogart legacy. After Humphrey Bogart's death in 1957, Bacall faced deep grief. She was left to raise their 2 children while navigating a rapidly changing film industry. She briefly became involved with actor Frank Sinatra, a relationship that was highly scrutinized by the press. When a private engagement became publicized, Sinatra abruptly ended the relationship, an experience Bacall later described as emotionally painful and disillusioning. In 1961, she married actor Jason Robards, with whom she had another son. Robards, however, struggled with alcoholism, and their marriage ended in divorce in 1969. Despite personal losses and heartbreak, Bacall remained resilient, channeling her energy into her work and motherhood. Broadway triumphs while Hollywood roles became scarce for women over 40. Bacall reinvented herself in theater, something few film stars of her era successfully accomplished. Notable stage achievements: Year Production Award 1970, Applause, musical adaptation of All About Eve, Tony Award for Best Actress in a Musical 1981, Woman of the Year, Tony Award for Best Actress in a Musical. She later said Broadway gave her something Hollywood often didn't. On stage, I had control. In movies, you're at the mercy of the editor, the director, the studio. Her stage performances proved she wasn't just a film icon, she was a full-spectrum performer. Later film roles and recognition. Even in her 70s, Bacall earned some of the best reviews of her career. Selected later roles: Murder on the Orient Express, 1974, The Shootist, 1976, John Wayne's final film Misery, Broadway, 1992. Iteration: The Mirror Has Two Faces, 1996, Oscar nomination for Best Supporting Actress in 2009. The Academy awarded her an honorary Oscar for her central place in the golden age of motion pictures. Signature traits and cultural influence: The voice. Her deep, smoky voice wasn't natural, she trained it. Howard Hawks advised her to lower her voice to sound more mature and mysterious. She practiced speaking while holding marbles in her mouth to deepen her tone. The look, her famous sultry expression, chin down, eyes up, wasn't premeditated. She started doing it during her first film to hide her trembling from nervousness. Fashion and style: often wore tailored suits, trench coats, and pants, challenging expectations of how a glamorous woman should dress. Became a muse for designers and photographers. Bacall didn't just follow fashion, she defined it. Character and philosophy: Lauren Bacall believed in authenticity and disliked pretense. Some of her most famous quotes capture her worldview. I think your whole life shows in your face. And you should be proud of that. A woman isn't complete without a man. But where do you find a man, a real man, these days? She had a sharp wit, tempered with emotional honesty. Death and legacy: Lauren Bacall passed away on August 12, 2014, at her home in New York City. She was 89. Today, she is remembered not just as a film star, but as a symbol of strength and independence, intellect over glamour, the allure of understatement. She remains one of the most influential actresses and fashion icons of the 20th century. Major films and why they matter to have and have not: 1944, Bacall's debut, and the film that changed her life. Her line to Bogart became one of the most quoted in film history. You know how to whistle, don't you, Steve? You just put your lips together and blow. The Big Sleep, 1946, a quintessential film noir. Bogart and Bacall's chemistry ignited the screen. Critics often cite it as the film where Bacall proved she was more than a glamorous newcomer. How to Marry a Millionaire, 1953, comedy with Marilyn Monroe and Betty Grable. Bacall, playing the smart, practical model, grounded the film with wit and poise. Written on the Wind, 1956, she played against type, vulnerable yet strong. Considered one of the greatest melodramas of the 1950s. The Mirror Has Two Faces, 1996, earned a Best Supporting Actress Oscar nomination at age 72. Other notable movies: Dark Passage, 1947, Key Largo, 1948, Murder on the Orient Express, 1974, The Shootist, 1976. Even in her later years, Bacall maintained a presence that demanded attention. Working with Marilyn Monroe while filming How to Marry a Millionaire, Bacall had a front-row seat to Marilyn Monroe's insecurities and stardom. Bacall admired Monroe's talent but also noted how the studio system treated her poorly. Bacall once said of Monroe, "She was a very special girl, and she was not treated well." Bacall wasn't intimidated by Monroe's sex symbol status, nor did she compete with it. If Monroe dazzled with vulnerability, Bacall captivated with command. Autobiographies and writing. Lauren Bacall wrote 2 acclaimed memoirs, By Myself, 1978, won the National Book Award. Honest, sharp, fearless, especially regarding Bogart's illness and her Hollywood experiences. Now, 1994, focuses on her later years, Broadway, life as a single mother, aging, reflection. Her writing cemented her image as articulate and introspective, not just a screen presence. Friendships and Hollywood dynamics with Humphrey Bogart. Their marriage was real partnership. Equal in respect and affection. Bacall often referred to him simply as Bogey. With Frank Sinatra a passionate but turbulent relationship. Sinatra ended things abruptly after an engagement leak. Bacall was deeply hurt. With Gregory Peck a lifelong close friend. Some biographers suggest that after Bogart, Peck was the man Bacall admired most. With Katharine Hepburn mutual respect between 2 fiercely independent women. Hepburn valued Bacall's honesty. Bacall admired Hepburn's discipline and control over her career. Personality and reputation. Lauren Bacall was admired, and sometimes feared, for quick intelligence, sharp sense of humor, zero tolerance for arrogance or dishonesty. She once said, "I am not a politician, and I'm not diplomatic. I'm too old for that." She valued authenticity over charm, truth over flattery. Her definition of glamour. Bacall rejected the idea that glamour was about makeup, gowns, or jewelry. To her, glamour meant mystery, restraint, and attitude. Real glamour is understatement. In an era of overexposure and publicity machines, Lauren Bacall mastered the power of intrigue. Why Lauren Bacall still matters. She proved women could be glamorous and intelligent. Challenged Hollywood's expectations for actresses. Reinvented herself when the industry wanted to discard women past a certain age. Left behind a legacy of strength and style that continues to inspire. Actresses from Cate Blanchett to Angelina Jolie credit Bacall as an influence, not just for her roles, but for her fearless self-definition. Life after Bogart. Reinvention and independence. After Bogart's death in 1957, Lauren Bacall faced profound loss. She later wrote that she felt as if the world had ended. Hollywood began to shift, the old studio system weakened, new values were emerging, and many stars of her generation struggled to adapt. Instead of fading, she reinvented herself. Moved between Hollywood and New York, chose roles on her own terms, developed a reputation as fearless, sharp, and uncompromising. She rejected parts she felt were shallow or sexist, even when she needed money. Bacall didn't play the game. She didn't flatter producers, didn't pretend to be grateful for scraps, didn't betray who she was. Her motto, "I don't have a strategy. I just have standards." Family man, woman, girl, boy. Her children and family life. With Humphrey Bogart, she had Stephen Bogart, born 1949, Leslie Bogart, born 1952. With Jason Robards, she had Sam Robards, born 1961. She was a disciplined but warm mother, deeply present but with expectations. She once said, "Children are not an interruption to life. They are life." Although she loved being a mother, she was adamant that motherhood should not erase a woman's identity. She balanced the two fiercely, sometimes imperfectly, but she never doubted that her purpose included both family and ambition. Her children have described her as private, loyal, honest to a fault, protective of Bogart's legacy. Sam Robards, now an actor, said that Bacall taught him to respect the work, not the fame. Cityscape. Bacall in New York City. As much as she was a Hollywood icon, Lauren Bacall's soul belonged to New York. For decades, She lived in the legendary Dakota Building overlooking Central Park, the same building associated with John Lennon and Yoko Ono. She was a fixture of the Upper West Side. Attended the theater weekly, walked to neighborhood cafes, fiercely defended the arts, museums, and classic architecture. Her apartment famously held over 1,000 books, art, photographs, sculpture items related to Bogart. After her death, her belongings were auctioned. Her personal effects revealed a woman of taste, history, minimal sentimentality, and enormous curiosity. Speech balloon, outspoken and politically fearless. Unlike many of her contemporaries, Bacall refused to play apolitical. She openly criticized politicians she disagreed with, defended liberal causes, and aligned herself with the outspoken tradition of her friend Katharine Hepburn. Bacall was also one of the few Golden Age stars who openly supported civil rights in the 1950s. One of her most famous lines, "Being a liberal is the best thing on earth you can be." She didn't care if it lost her roles. Trophy awards and recognition. Selected Year Award 1970 Tony Award. Best Actress in a Musical. Applause 1981 Tony Award. Best Actress in a Musical. Woman of the Year 1997 Golden Globe. Best Supporting Actress. The Mirror Has Two Faces 2009 Honorary Academy Award for Lifetime Contribution to Film. Her Oscar speech in 2009 was short, wry, and perfectly Bacall. A Man at Last. Movie camera. Bacall's philosophy on acting: she was uninterested in vanity or image for image's sake. "I don't like the idea of my identity being tied to how I look. That's too fragile." She believed the power of a performance lay in subtlety, in what was not said. Rose's final years in her 80s. She still took roles, still read scripts, still attended the theater. Her mind remained sharp. Her voice remained unmistakable. She died peacefully on August 12, 2014, at home in New York, surrounded by family. Her obituary in the New York Times simply called her the last of the great Golden Age stars. Sparkles. Why she endures. Lauren Bacall is remembered not just for her beauty or fame, but because she defined herself. Hollywood never controlled her. She aged without apology. She set her own rules. She remains a symbol of smart glamour, of sophistication without fragility, of the power in understatement. Bogart and Bacall. A love story that became Hollywood myth. When Lauren Bacall met Humphrey Bogart during her screen test for To Have and Have Not, she was 19 and he was 44, married, famous, and already a legend. But from the first rehearsal, something electric happened. Bogart slipped her a matchbook with his phone number. Bacall later wrote, "No one had ever spoken to me the way he did. It was electricity." Their chemistry was not scripted, and directors did not have to coach their intimacy on camera. Even seasoned crew members noticed the way Bogart looked at her, protective, admiring, slightly in awe. During filming, Bacall was nervous. Her lips trembled. To hide it, she pressed her chin to her chest, looked up from under her lashes, and accidentally invented the look. They married in 1945 on a small Ohio farm with only a handful of friends present, a deliberate escape from Hollywood spectacle. Bacall described the wedding as the happiest day of my life. Tumbler Glass. The Rat Pack. Few people know that the original Rat Pack wasn't Sinatra's glam Vegas group. It began in Bogart and Bacall's home. Members included Humphrey Bogart, Lauren Bacall, Judy Garland, David Niven, Frank Sinatra, Spencer Tracy. Katharine Hepburn. Bacall jokingly christened the group a goddamn rat pack when they returned from a trip looking disheveled. The name stuck. Sinatra later adopted it. Books. Bacall as a writer. Brutal Honesty in Print. Bacall's autobiography By Myself, 1978, shocked readers with its emotional transparency. She revealed The loneliness of being a young widow, Sinatra's abrupt disappearance from her life, her frustration with Hollywood misogyny, insecurities masked by her trademark confidence. The book won the National Book Award, a rare achievement for an actor's memoir. Her later book, Now, 1994, was more introspective, a look at aging, reflection, and resilience. Face mask. Bacall on Broadway. A second stardom. Bacall's Broadway resurgence wasn't expected, but she was determined not to be a relic of Bogart. In Applause, 1970, her first major musical, she was terrified of singing live. It required a different vulnerability than film acting. But she won a Tony Award, then another for Woman of the Year, 1981. Each night she went on stage, she said she could feel Bogart with her. Movie camera expanded filmography, selected classics with Bogart, To Heaven Have Not, 1944, The Big Sleep, 1946, Dark Passage, 1947, Key Largo 1948, 1950's career. Young Man with a Horn, 1950, How to Marry a Millionaire, 1953, Written on the Wind, 1956, Designing Woman, 1957, later in character roles. Murder on the Orient Express, 1974, The Shootist, 1976, The Fan, 1981, The Mirror Has Two Faces, 1996. She worked until she was nearly 90, not out of necessity, but because she loved the craft. Brain Philosophy, Identity and Aging. Lauren Bacall never feared aging. I think your whole life shows in your face. And you should be proud of that. She fought against Hollywood's obsession with youth and refused to erase her history. She believed curiosity kept people alive. She was a lifelong reader, biographies, history, political essays, and she visited museums and galleries weekly. A favorite Bacall quote: "Standing still is the fastest way of moving backwards." Gem fashion and style legacy. Bacall's style was minimalist, tailored, and bold. Menswear reimagined for women. Crisp white shirts, wide-leg trousers, trench coats, no fuss, no frills. While others embraced sequins and feathers, Bacall mastered sharp silhouettes and simplicity. Designers adored her, not because she chased fashion, but because she embodied confidence. Dove. After her passing on August 12, 2014, the lights on Broadway dimmed in her honor. Her ashes were buried at Forest Lawn in California, beside Bogart. Her epitaph reads, "With Bogey, even in death, the story remained theirs." Checkmark. What makes Lauren Bacall eternal? She redefined glamour as intelligence and restraint. She protected her identity in an industry designed to erase individuality. She showed that women could reinvent themselves at any age. She lived with courage, wit, and absolute authenticity. She wasn't just a star. She was a force. The persona versus the person. Lauren Bacall always distinguished between Lauren Bacall, the cool, composed screen presence, and Betty, the real woman behind the image. She admitted that the glamorous persona the world adored was, in many ways, a created armor. "I was Betty. Lauren Bacall was the product." She used Bacall as both a shield and a passport, a way to navigate a world that demanded perfection. Behind the voice and the composure, she was self-critical, emotional, easily hurt. She once said, "I was full of doubts. I still am." Red heart. Vulnerability. Beneath the strength, Bacall may have projected control, but in her own words, she was a woman who learned strength out of necessity. "I didn't know I was strong until I had to be." Hollywood loved her as a symbol of cool, but her closest friends knew she was affectionate, devoted, and deeply loyal. Film frames on. Working in a male-dominated Hollywood. Bacall was working at a time when women were contracted property of studios. Actresses were often told who to date, what to wear, what to say. She resisted it from the beginning. A woman isn't a toy, or a mascot, or a decoration. Her refusal to be controlled often made her unpopular with studio executives, but admired by younger women in Hollywood who saw her as proof that an actress could think for herself and still succeed. Jem Bacall and Marilyn Monroe, a real friendship, not a rivalry unlike the narrative Hollywood tried to create. Bacall and Monroe were not competitors, they bonded during How to Marry a Millionaire. Bacall later wrote, Monroe was intelligent. Studio executives infantilized her. She had extraordinary comedic instincts and Bacall defended her publicly. Marilyn was not a joke. She was a person. And she was a talent. While others saw Monroe's insecurities as weakness, Bacall saw them as evidence of how the industry mistreats women. Speech balloon wit.
Bye bye. Thanks for watching. Bye.